Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day, evening, afternoon, whenever you happen to be watching this. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Going for the One. Uh, Jim Cannon Sagosh and I are counting down or giving you our favorite debut albums. Again, not perfect, but favorite debut albums. And today is my turn. We are going to be talking about a band that were pretty much a smash hit coming out of the gate. There's a bit of a back history with this group. We are talking about Led Zeppelin and their debut. Now, the history with Led Zeppelin, if you want to talk about a supergroup, there you go, which ties into another series that I'm dealing with right now. But dealing with Led Zeppelin, the history of Led Zeppelin goes back to the days of the Yardbirds, where the band were on tour, and Jimmy Page was in the band at this point, and they were on tour in Europe, and basically the band dissolved, leaving Jimmy Page with the rights to the name of the Yardbirds. Now, what the problem that Jimmy Page had was the band were booked to do a tour of Scandinavia. Now, in terms of the rest of the band members that left, I won't go into all of the band members that left by name, but two of the band members did go on to form the first incarnation of Renaissance. Okay. Now, Jimmy Page, with having a contractual obligation to play in Scandinavia, he set about putting together a new version of the Yardbirds, otherwise known as the New Yardbirds. And he knew of John Paul Jones, who was a well-known session musician in and around London, who had played with group people like worked with The Who, Tom Jones, Donovan, just to name three out of many. So he was the first person that he called and recruited. He would also hook up with a singer, a little-known singer by the name of Robert Plant, who was in a band called the Band of Joy at the time. And also through Robert Plant's contacts, they were able to secure one John Bonham on drums. John Bonham, aside from playing in the Band of Joy, was a bricklayer by trade during the day, which, when you think about it, makes sense, but we won't go in there. They had Peter Grant as manager, and Peter Grant as a manager was larger than life in terms of his presence, his attitude, in terms of dealing with promoters, booking agents, etc. You couldn't ask for a better manager who would look after your interests. Okay, so they set out to secure a record deal, and from the notes I have and the information I read up on, they secured a deal with Atlantic Records. Now, Peter Grant was adamant that they have a worldwide deal with Atlantic Records in every territory. The only territory that they would not sign to Atlantic Records was France, where they were signed to Barclay Records. Okay. Now, they set about to do some recording sessions, and as I grab my notes here, ladies and gentlemen, the resulting Led Zeppelin album debut release was a result of a sporadic 30-hour recording session between September and October. Now, also playing on the album, you have session musician Viram Jahasi, sorry, Jansi, sorry if I say that wrong, on tabla on one of the tracks. Now, in terms of the album overall, I'm going to go through the uh, the information for you. Has a playing time of 44 minutes and 44 seconds. The debut release was released on the 13th of January 1969. It was recorded between September and October of 1968 at Olympic Studios. Again, all of the albums for Led Zeppelin were produced by Jimmy Page. They pretty much kept it in-house in terms of the production, so they didn't have to points to a producer, an outside producer, in terms of contracts. There are 9 tracks on this album. Now, in terms of style, this album to some are singers like Ozzy Osbourne was considered to be a breath of fresh air because there was nothing like this on the market that people heard. And in terms of coming up with the name, they settled on Led Zeppelin. But for this first tour of Scandinavia, they were going under the name of the New Yardbirds. But getting back to the album, as I said, 9 tracks in total, a mixture of heavy rock, blues, folk with Middle Eastern influences. It starts off with the lead off single, Good Times, Bad Times. Heavy guitar riffs on this, prominent bass, just blistering guitar solos on this track. Then it segues into Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Now, what I noticed on this album too, a good amount of the songs were pretty lengthy, like over the 6 minute mark, right? Baby, I'm Gonna Leave You starts with an intricate guitar passage, acoustic guitar passage. What I like to call on this track, you have elements of light and shade, where light being the more pastoral acoustic sections, and shade being the heavy, like full out rock guitar treatments and sections. And on this track, I do like the fact that they do have a nice wind down on the coda on the final section of the track. Up next is the piece You Shook Me from Willie Dixon cover. Again, 6 minutes and 30 seconds of just what I like to call sensual, down and dirty blues. Okay, it's got a lot of balls to it, a lot of sex, a lot of just down and dirty in your face, no holds barred playing. And that's what I have on them in my notes. Great down and dirty vibe on or guitar and organ. Very thick guitar tone. Great panning of drums on this track. Now, track 4, very quickly, Dazed and Confused. The show, I guess you call it the showcase of the album. Uh, this track clocking in at 6 minutes and 27 seconds. Live, this piece would go as long as 30 minutes because you had a lot of guitar soloing, improv sections on this piece. And the controversy with this track was that originally, on the original presses of the album, Jimmy Page has been given credit for writing the song, but they were sued. They were taken to court by the song's writer, and that was Jake Holmes. So on future pressings, it's listed as inspired by Jake Holmes. And again, this is the showcase of the album with, great bass, really down and dirty bass, very measured but very definite bass lines coming in. And again, with Jimmy Page using the bow on the middle section, a strong vocal from Robert Plant on this, just brutal, just effing brutal. Pardon me, but that's the only way I can describe this track. Side 2 starts off with the beautiful Your Time Is Gonna Come with a great organ intro from John Paul Jones, nice slide guitar, and nice, great organ swells on this track. Then that segues into Black Mountain Side, great short instrumental, 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Nice use of tabla on this piece, and great acoustic guitar. Then this segues into the second single, Communication Breakdown, 2 minutes and 26 seconds. And the only notes I have on this track is straightforward rocker, just great guitar, great gutsy vocals from Robert Plant. They just go for it, unrelenting on the guitar on this track, just amazing. Coming up next is track 4, side 2, I Can't Quit You, Babe. Another Willie Dixon track, 4 minutes and 41 seconds. Great bass, great guitar tone, nice triple bass drum hits from I was going to say John Paul Jones, John Bonham. Just, he was a monster on the drums. And if you've seen him live in terms of playing, he had these massive hands. I mean, that could literally do anything. I feel like he just oh yeah, just amazing, just amazing.
He was still laying bricks.
Yes, at this point. Yes, and the album ends with how many more times? 8 minutes and 28 seconds. In my notes, I have your great bass groove, nice swing drum pattern on this, nice guitar soloing on on the left and right channels because they would do a lot of use of panning from left and right on this album on the tracks. Just beautifully done, and again, it's multi-sectional. It's multi-section on this piece. They go into a bit of an I call it an improv section, where you hear Robert Plant coming in, with these strong vocals that come in, and then it goes back into the main part of the song from the beginning, just the main riff and the heavy bass. Uh, from Good Times, Bad Times to How Many More Times, you're taken on a journey. I've talked about albums taking me on taking people on journeys, and this album from Good Times, Bad Times to How Many More Times does not let up. I do feel that this album, for the time that it was released, had a lot of variety to it, and a lot of textures and colors to it. And in terms of the recording techniques, it's quite haunting in some songs in terms of I don't know if they were using chambers at this point or echo chambers but a lot of the vocals for me can be quite haunting when you hear them. And yeah, that's basically pretty much all I can say for this album. I do think that it's a good it is one of my favorite debut albums. It's not perfect, but at the same time, it takes you on a ride, and you never know where the hell you're going to end up every time you listen to it. Questions?
It's a
Comments?
twee little record, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it, it it was given its props, but it was also given its unfavorable critiques. I mean, Keith Richards had said that this album or the band were pretty much shit. When it came out that they were not going to go anywhere. Of course, Keith Richards, all due respect, wouldn't give a compliment unless the band included himself and Mick Jagger in it. So I mean, he has very distinct opinions about every other type of music that doesn't involve him and the Rolling Stones. So I won't even go there.
And
But
if I'm not mistaken, Rolling Stone magazine panned most of their albums upon release, if I'm
yeah,
if I remember correctly.
yeah, yeah,
And this is one of those examples of where um, the British bands of the 60s did such an amazing job of interpreting old American blues
yeah,
and making
Yep.
it something completely new.
yeah, yeah. No,
One
and
of the best things about 60s music.
if they were guilty of one thing, it was not giving proper credit where credit was due.
Sure.
And they admitted
Oh,
it
the whole
themselves.
career,
Oh,
you
Yeah,
yeah.
know.
yeah. Um, so, Sagosh, any
Jimmy's particular
questions?
worldview on authorship, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Sagosh,
It's a
any
free.
questions?
So yeah, I just like to point out that Black Mountain Side again is one of those creative interpretations of Jimmy Page.
Yep.
It's taken pretty much directly from Bert Jansch's treatment of the traditional song Black Waterside.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. So I mean, that's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah.
So
All
yeah,
right.
I Holmes was credited, but I don't know if Bert Jansch ever was. That's the difficulty with traditional songs, I suppose, where one arrangement is does become kind of the definitive version, but it's probably not enough to count as a songwriting credit. I think Martin Carthy had the same problem with Scarborough Fair, while
Yeah.
Mhm.
the arrangement Simon and
Yeah.
Garfunkel did it was pretty much
Yep.
note
Yep.
for note the way Martin Carthy did it, but because it was a traditional song, he didn't quite get the credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I gotta say, when I first heard this album, I really wasn't. I mean, I liked it, but I really wasn't taken with it. Obviously, when you think of Led Zeppelin, you think of the, Zoso or Led Zeppelin 2 as a go-to album to listen as a first album, but as a gateway into Led Zeppelin. But for me, I would say give this one a listen.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, it's essential. Good
Oh,
Lord.
yeah.
Yeah, give this one
Yeah.
a listen. And you know what? It goes by so quickly. I mean, like Ken has said in the past, there have been albums you listen to, and before you know it, you're enjoying it so much, but before you know it, it's over, right? Give this one a listen, strap yourself in, fix yourself a drink or a coffee or a tea, and just go for the ride.
Yeah.
Go for the ride. I
Yeah,
think,
So
for those,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was going to say, back in the days of like when people would make their own CDRs, I would I prepared a batch for my kids because I wanted them to kind of like understand the progression of great music. And for 1969, there was never any question on whether or not I would include Dazed and Confused, because that's just such a it's beyond a gut punch. It's beyond a haymaker. It's just like this, thermonuclear explosion of rock and blues that's just out to lunch.
Exactly, exactly. And just a quick note, two quick notes. When the Tea Party opened for Zeppelin, um,
You mean Page and Plant?
yeah, Page and Plant. Sorry, my bad. When the Tea Party opened for Page and Plant in Montreal, Robert Plant has always been dismissive of any what he thought to be any band that would come up that would be coming up and trying to copy Zeppelin and their style. But when they opened, Jeff Martin, lead singer and guitarist, said that when they were playing their set, he looked over on the left side and he saw Jimmy Page standing there, and then he looked over on the right and he saw Robert Plant standing there with his cup of tea, getting ready for their set, and he thought, "Oh shit, we're in trouble. We're in trouble." But he saw Robert Plant doing this, like just nodding his head, nodding his head. So after their set, the roadies come over and say to Jeff Martin, Jimmy wants to talk to you. So he's like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. He's gonna, give me shit for using the bow because he would use the bow too during his set. So they go in, and Jimmy just asks him, "How did you get the bow to make that kind of sound on your strings? I always had difficulty uh, getting the right tuning, And he's like, and he's standing there, like, oh, okay, like, all right, and he wants to know this stuff, right? So that was like one of the more surreal moments of their life as a band. But also there is, just in closing, on YouTube, I'm sure you can find it. There is a live performance of Dazed and Confused released by Sony Music Video that was released back in like 1986, 87, commercially. So if you want to check out a pretty much studio version of Dazed and Confused done live. I think they were performing on Switzerland at the time. Check it out. It's in color. It is amazing. It's amazing. So
I believe there's also a Yardbirds version of Dazed and Confused.
possibly, yeah. He was doing that track as far back as the Yardbirds days. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, Armando, you didn't share with us how Led Zeppelin got their name.
The story goes was that John Entwistle, I do believe, heard the album and heard the music and said this was going to go over like a Led Zeppelin. So, and the rest is history.
And there we go.
They decided on the name. Thanks for pointing that out, Ken. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Another episode of Going for the One. I want to thank Frickin' Frack and Sagosh for joining me on this episode of Going for the One. And again, please put down below a debut album that you think that you feel is your favorite. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, just your favorite. We'd like to get a dialogue going on these episodes, and we're just starting. So please check out all more episodes coming up. And for Jim, Ken, and Sagosh, I'm Armando signing off. Please look after yourselves and one another. Click like and subscribe, and do hit the notification bell again to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. And we'll see you soon on another episode of Going for the One. Bye for now.